Dr. Saeeda Jaffar, Senior Vice President and Group Country Manager, Visa GCC. Let me ask you first, Visa just launched a new installment solution for ADIB card holders in partnership with NeoPay. How is this solution different from others in the market?
Absolutely. It's a great question. So we have recently launched Visa Installments, which is a very simple, seamless customer experience. What it is if a consumer chooses at the point of sale to make a purchase and pay for that with installments, they have the ability to do so. What does that mean? What that means is if, let's say, I go and I decide I want to buy a television, or if I want to buy something that is sizable, when I am at the counter checking out, I tap or swipe my card. At that point, a message pops up to say, Saeeda, would you like to pay for this as a traditional line of credit, which is exactly how a lot of our cards are set up, a credit card, or would you like to pay for it in installments? If I choose the installment option, I immediately know over how long I will be paying it down, what will be the terms of that payment. So there's its simplicity, its clarity, its predictability. And we believe that a lot of consumers today ask and want this particular proposition. So that's what it is. It's a really exciting solution. We've just started, as you said, with ADIB cards, and this will slowly be available on every single Visa credit card or covered card across the region. And the best part is the consumer won't have to do anything. It'll just be automatically done for you. So it's a great product. I hope everybody goes out and tries it. I certainly did, and I loved it.
What Visa is doing to support booming travel and tourism sector, and how does Visa support travelers?
So travelers are very, very core to what we do. And being there on every step of the journey is very, very important to us. So let's think about it. When a traveler decides they want to travel, there are several stages they go through. And we want to be there with them, helping them every step of the way. So usually at the beginning, there is the dreaming part. Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? Where can I go, right? There's all that. So we work closely with our consumers and our partners to make sure we provide them with those options. So we are constantly working on incredible offers that we share with our banking partners, who then share it with our consumers. We are constantly working with our other partners on creating the right co-brands. We know what consumers like to travel, how they like to travel. We create these propositions on co-brands so they're able to amplify, get more for their spends, and therefore be able to afford better and better experiences, right? So we're working very closely with providing them with options like concierge service, etc., to help them think through what their options are. So we, on the dreaming part, we work with creating things where the consumers can pick and say, this is where I'd like to go, this is where I would like to go. The second step then comes, once I've done the dreaming, I know I want to go. I want to make it a reality. Usually that involves purchasing my ticket, purchasing the hotel, all the different elements of making that happen. When we do that, there are usually lots of things on our mind. First and foremost, which is the transaction secure? Where we are deeply, deeply involved in making sure that we deploy the latest AI-based technologies to minimize any level of fraud. But that's just one part. As a consumer, in today's increasingly unpredictable world, I don't know if I will be able to travel. There might be a storm, there might be other conditions because of which I may not be able to travel last minute. If I do travel, maybe, how many times has it happened to you? Your luggage doesn't show up. Right? So there are all these things that can happen. So there is this element of security that we are constantly working on, that we provide the consumer with peace of mind. If you use your Visa card to purchase the ticket, you automatically get travel protection, right? Your luggage is late more than 4 hours, you get something, you get the ability to be able to deal with that. Right? So there are all these different protections that are built in that try to make that experience as safe and as secure for consumers as possible. And then the last, it's the engaging part. Once I've done it, once I've dreamt it, once I've bought everything and I've made my way there, how do I get the most out of my experience? And we are constantly working on providing the most relevant offers to our consumers that are based on their data and that are really and truly uniquely targeted for them. So all the way from broad offerings, such as if I want to travel and I want an eSIM, As a Visa cardholder, you can get that very, very easily using your eSIM. To, I want access to certain locations that if you're a Visa cardholder, you can get access and you will be guaranteed access, or you'll get better rates. So all of these different things to make sure your experience once you're on the ground is where you want it to be.
Perfect.
Broad range.
Interesting. Let me ask you now, which are the key sectors where you have seen a drastic change in consumer spending? If you can compare numbers before and after the pandemic.
So I think the way consumers behave and what they're spending on has changed quite significantly over the last few years. So if we go back, first thing I want to say is what we see, we are already above pre-pandemic levels in terms of spend. During the pandemic, our region saw probably some of the fastest conversion of cash to digital spending. So a lot of that has already happened. Where we are today is we see, coming out of the pandemic, consumers are spending more on essentials because of the uncertainty. Consumers were spending more on goods and services at home, doing up your home, getting the equipment in for exercise, all of that. That has now slowly changed. Today, you see consumers are spending a lot more on other experiences. So going out for F&B, going out to restaurants. So that has changed. In the last 2 years, even more, we're seeing the shift from purely domestic to much more in travel, much more cross-border. So again, people have now started going back out. They've started traveling, all the things that they weren't able to do. So we've seen a definite shift from a point where there was very little spend to a point where there was a lot of spend, but it was more around conversion and it was more around the necessities and the basics, to now where it's much more around travel, it's more around cross-border, and it's much more experiential and service-based.
Okay, perfect. Last question. There's a significant surge in the adoption of digital wallets across markets. Okay, what are some of the security challenges you face, and how do you tackle them?
I think there are, with time, we see the number of payment methods continuously increase. Digital wallets are absolutely some that are extremely important and growing and critical, but there are many, many more. And with any wave of adoption of new technology, there are always things that one has to be careful about and one has to be cautious of. We've seen historically a rise in social engineering fraud. We've seen a rise in OTP fraud. We've seen a rise in merchant fraud, right? We see a rise in a lot of these different things. I think as much of this is around the consumer and educating the consumer, and me as a consumer understanding the risks of any new methods, but also it is about us as an ecosystem coming together and making sure that we do what we can to put forward the best in class tools and processes to help protect the ecosystem from bad players. I think this is now, with the advent of AI, with the advent of all these new technologies, this is going to become even more important as we go forward. So I would say this is something that is and should be top of mind for most decision makers across the world.